I think the first time I visited Palestine was when I was around 14 with my parents, and we spent the summer there. And then I went a few more times throughout high school and college. It felt poetic, just getting out of the plane, getting into the car, driving like with the windows down, seeing the Quds and entering our home. And we live on Shara Kulthum in Beit Hanina in the Quds, and just feeling so comfortable in the space, so comfortable with everybody, feeling like everybody was my ammo and my khalto, and hearing the adhan. It seems cliche, but I think it maybe is, but it comes from the reality that the fact that it is a reality for so many Palestinians in the diaspora, and just always having a longing to go back after that time. When I was in college, I did a lot of Palestine organizing. So I was on Canary mission, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a mostly U.S. thing. I think it is only U.S. where they basically blacklist any Palestine organizers, and the header, they changed. But when it first started in 2014, it was anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-American. And then they had all these bios of people with like quotes and where they work and like all of their activities and different headers, whatever. And at that point, I was like one of the first 10 people maybe to be put on the website. When you Googled my name, it was the first thing that came up. And I had friends who had been denied, who were on that website, in the next couple of years, who had been denied entry into Palestine by Israel, obviously. And that was one of the suspected reasons. So I just had nightmares all the time about not being allowed in, like all the time, so much anxiety. I remember the first time I went to Palestine after that was in 2018. And I just had so much unbelievable anxiety. I obviously did so much work beforehand to prepare, to minimize the chances that I would be denied entry. I deleted all my social media for a year. I completely wiped my phone, my laptop, any of my devices. I remember I had my passport that was from when it was about to expire. It was the last year, and it was from when I was maybe 14 or something. And I looked really young, and I was like, this is great because I look young, less threatening. I wore really I wore pink clothing, which is just so so the opposite of how I usually dress. And I basically I had a really high ponytail and I was like, I'm gonna look as non-threatening as possible. And I was on this plane with these Jews from New York going on birthright. They were it was a party for them. They were so excited to have this free vacation. They had no concerns in the world. They were being, it was just, and I had so much rage at how entitled they felt and how free and how safe they felt and how much anxiety and how high stakes this trip was and my entry and the border experience. I think I just got lucky with a really stupid border officer, some woman who asked me a couple of questions. My cousin was getting married, so I really used that. My parents had already been there. There were a lot of things that made it seem, like I said, less threatening. My parents were there. Said, oh, my parents are here. I'm just coming to meet them. My cousin is getting married. I made it seem very, didn't mention any trips that I had to the West Bank, to Ramallah, to any of that. I just said the Quds, Shiekh. I don't even think I said Shiekh Jarrah. I said Beit Hanina, which is there's no Yahud there, so they're not that worried about it. And she asked me a couple of questions, took me into the room, and then she let me go. My cousin always tells me this, and I don't necessarily remember it because I was younger. She's like, you were 13 years old and we were driving and you were sitting in the back seat with the window down and you said, I wish that I could just bottle up this air and take it home with me. And she just always remembers it, and she tells me it now. And she's like, she was so happy to see that, her cousin who's in and America and whatever, and it was my first time there that I was so in love with the blad, you know?
Hanina.